What if I told you the fight for Greenland isn't about ice or land, it's about a father who lost everything, trying to protect a place most people will never see. His name was Marcus Hendriksen, a Danish-American geologist who spent 20 years mapping Greenland's coastline, living in isolation, ignored by governments, forgotten by friends. He wasn't chasing glory or money. He was chasing something deeper, something personal. Marcus grew up hearing his grandfather's stories about Greenland, about its hidden valleys and endless frozen horizons, about a world untouched by greed. His grandfather had been a researcher there in the 1950s, back when the Cold War turned the island into a silent battleground, and he died believing Greenland's secrets would one day matter more than anyone realized. Marcus made it his mission to finish what his grandfather started, to prove that Greenland wasn't just a frozen wasteland. It was the key to the future, but nobody listened. He submitted reports to the US government, to military officials, to environmental agencies, and every single one came back with the same response. Rejected, dismissed, filed away. His wife left him because he spent more time in the Arctic than at home. His colleagues called him obsessed, delusional, a man chasing ghosts in the ice. He lost his university position, burned through his savings, and eventually found himself alone in a tiny research station on Greenland's western coast, surrounded by nothing but wind and silence. Then everything changed. In 2019, President Trump publicly announced interest in purchasing Greenland, and the world laughed. It seemed absurd, reckless, a joke. But Marcus knew better. He had spent 2 decades studying the island's rare earth minerals, the deposits of neodymium and dysprosium buried beneath the ice, materials that power every smartphone, every electric car, every piece of modern technology. He had mapped the Northwest Passage, the shipping route that climate change was slowly unlocking, a route that would cut weeks off travel between Europe and Asia. He had documented the military significance, the way Greenland's position gave the United States eyes on Russia, on China, on the entire Arctic frontier. Everything Marcus had warned about was suddenly front-page news, and still nobody called him. The media interviewed politicians, analysts, historians, but not the man who had lived it, who had sacrificed everything to understand it. He watched from his research station as the world debated Greenland's value, and he realized something devastating. They still didn't get it. They talked about strategy and resources, but they missed the human cost. The communities that would be displaced, the indigenous people whose voices were drowned out by superpowers fighting over their home. Marcus made one final decision. He compiled everything, every map, every report, every piece of data, and sent it to a small indigenous rights organization in Greenland. He didn't send it to the US government or Denmark or any major power. He sent it to the people who actually lived there, the people his grandfather had once lived alongside, the people who deserved to control their own future. Then he walked out into the ice and disappeared. Search teams found his research station abandoned 3 weeks later, his notes scattered across the desk, a single photograph of his grandfather pinned to the wall. They never found Marcus. Some say he's still out there. Some say the cold took him, but those who knew him believe he made peace with something bigger than himself. 6 months later, that indigenous organization used Marcus's research to negotiate better terms with Denmark, to secure more autonomy, to ensure that Greenland's future wouldn't be decided by distant capitals, but by the people who called it home. The US still wants Greenland, for its minerals, its military position, its strategic dominance in a warming Arctic, but the fight isn't just about power anymore. It's about whether we listen to the people who've been there all along, the ones we ignored, the ones who saw the truth before the rest of us cared. Marcus Hendriksen gave everything for a place that didn't belong to him, and in the end, he gave it back to the people who did. He never got recognition, never got vindication, never got his wife back or his career or his life. But somewhere in Greenland his work still matters, still protects, still fights. And maybe that's enough. Sometimes the most important battles aren't won by those who shout the loudest. They're won by those who sacrifice everything so others can finally be heard.